Hey everyone, Mike Linnette RN here, and welcome to the Code Blue podcast brought to you by Holly Blue, the first one and only social media app created by nurses, specifically for nurses. So think of this as a community made just for you. You guys can download the app and connect with nurses in your area and also boost your knowledge and career. So with me once again is Linnette Santana with one N. And she is the author of the Lifeline, I always call it Lifeline Nurse, but first-time author of the self-help book called Lifeline, which helps to create better habits and really kind of gets you out of the rut, and also helps make small incremental changes that can really pay off in the long term. So welcome back, Linnette. What's going on?
What's going on? Hey.
So today we're going to talk about some NCLEX tips and how personally, Linnette, what you did for your NCLEX, because you just passed it, right?
Yes.
What, 3 months ago, 90 days ago, or something like that?
Yeah, in the very beginning of October, I went ahead, I took the jump, I took it.
Dang, nice.
The craziest experience, I think. All of your nerves at once just go.
Yeah, it's like skydiving where it's like, oh, I shouldn't be doing this. And it's like,
Yes. It's like when they open the door in the plane and you're about to jump out. That's exactly what it feels like when you get in. Yes.
Exactly.
But as soon as the exam opens though, if it's any help, it all goes away. Nice. The moment you see the first question, it's like shift into adrenaline and you just go, you know.
You just shoot down the targets.
Yes.
So today we're going to talk about some NCLEX strategies and tips and how you pass the NCLEX. And then we're going to talk about some horror stories that you had as a student and I guess what you learned from that. So, so first things, oh man, you already probably have a juicy story for that. So okay. First things first, you want to do the NCLEX thing first or the horror stories? Because it seemed like you were pretty excited about the
So we can do the NCLEX thing and then we'll do the horror.
Okay. All right.
Okay, so for the NCLEX, the way that I studied was primarily listening to audios from Mark Cramming, doing YouTube, doing Mark's Yellow Book and Blue Book.
Okay.
Oh my God, and then taking the 20 million stacks of notes that I had accumulated.
In nursing school.
And reading notes.
Okay,
yes,
okay.
Like the ones, I think this is a good tip. If you're in nursing school right now, and when you study for your finals, you usually have like this overview of notes. Don't throw those away. Keep those notes.
Yes, especially for the final exam as well as the NCLEX, right?
Exactly. Yes, exactly. So
Tell
you're going to take them. Yeah, it's the best. Because that's when you really have the exact points that you need and the real overview of that for a final exam. And now you get to study that from each one. So don't throw them away. The best that you can, just keep them. That's what I did. I went over my personal notes.
Nice.
Yeah, it was great. I think my best tip would to just be when you study, give your studying material 100% of your attention.
Okay.
That is the best thing that I can say. Like we were talking about earlier, I took my NCLEX earlier than what I thought. Yeah. And I was like kind of studying here and there. And then when I got the ATI to take my NCLEX, it was 2 days before. I studied more in those 2 days than I did in the past month that I had been studying.
Oh, so when you actually got your ATT like number for the actual dates. Okay. Yeah. And it made stuff real.
Yes. When I got the date, when I got the ATI, I was on a Wednesday, and I took my NCLEX 2 days later on a Friday. And between Wednesday and Friday, I have more in my life.
All right, this is not recommended. This is against medical advice.
Again, I do not recommend doing this. No, this was crazy in my part. But the point here is that I deleted all of my social media accounts, and I was like all in for those 2 days, all in. And when I started my NCLEX, I don't know, I felt in my soul I was gonna pass it. I was like,
your soul.
Yes, I felt it in my soul. I was like, I felt ready. But if I would have been putting that effort in from the beginning, maybe I would have done less questions. Maybe I would have had a little bit of less doubt. So whenever you are putting your time into studying, put everything else away, quiet the world,
Okay.
and focus, your mind will just work in such ways, be so much more receptive. And it's different when you read 2 lines and then you're like, let me just get on Instagram, or
Yeah.
let
The
me just
time
start
vampires.
texting.
Yeah.
You end up reading the same line 83 times. You're like, what did this say? The atrium is where?
Like what?
The calcium who's?
Who's the calcium? Yeah. No, and that's funny you say that, because I offer so many tips and tricks. We do an NCLEX course at SimpleNursing, and one of the biggest things is not even like, it sounds bad, but it's not really even taking a certain number of questions, even though it is, or like reviewing all these topics. It's really kind of shutting out the world and giving yourself dedicated time, like showing up like a job, like a part-time job,
Yes.
shutting out the world, putting your phone away, putting everything away, and just executing on what you need to do. And so like, how long would you study normally, like before this like 2-day cram session? Was it like 4 hours a day, 3 hours a day, or is it?
Yes, yeah. When it came to the NCLEX, because the NCLEX the NCLEX is almost like if you're your own boss, so you have to create your own structure and be serious about it too, because no one's looking at you and no one's saying you have a test date at this time. You're the one setting your test date, so it's really important to become your own manager and be like, all right, Linnette, or me, if I'm talking to myself, I'm gonna give myself 3 hours of today to study, or 4 hours of today to study, whatever it may have been, and in that time, take it completely to do the studying. But before the whole cram session, maybe 2 or 3 hours.
Oh,
But during nursing school, I mean, I had times that it was like 10 hours straight. I'm not even.
Yeah. And I always recommend students do like there's a study tactic called I think it's called Pomaro, where you study for like 20 to 25 minutes, and then you take like a 5 or 2 minute break, and you shut out the world. And that really helps your mind, I guess, focus on these like little tiny chunks of sprints instead of like a long duration of like, hours on it. So
yeah, so I would just be like, okay, I'm going to take today to study for whatever it is. And then that's kind of what I would do. I would go over a chapter and be like, okay, now I'm going to listen to a song, or go over a chapter. Okay, I'm going to get coffee. I'll be right back. Or go for 2 hours and be like, I'm going to go an hour to the gym and I'll be back. So it wouldn't be these 10 hours straight. I would give myself these mental breaks so that when I would come back, I would be more refreshed and ready for the next, part of it.
And now a lot of students like everywhere use Youworld now for like the question bank. Did you ever like set yourself like, I have to take 100 questions a day, or like, I have to do I don't know, X amount of questions, or was it just kind of like whatever with the questions?
Yeah, so with Youworld, I had a toxic relationship with Youworld.
I don't know.
Yes.
All right, tell us about this toxic relationship.
We didn't get along very much. For whatever reason, when I would do the questions in Youworld, I would do them, from 25 to 75 questions, super long spectrum, but whatever. Right. And the questions, there were some that I just couldn't stand. I was like, why would they put it like this? What is this sentence structure, whatever it may have been. Yes, so I didn't like Youworld at all. And from the thousands of questions, there's like 1,800 questions. I'm not sure.
Yeah, there's like 2,000 or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I might have done like 200 or 300 only, and then I gave it up.
Okay, and you just did mark.
I gave it to someone else. I was like, look, this is my login and password.
Oh my gosh, that's incriminating. We're gonna edit that part out now.
Someone else. I didn't like it. My best studying comes from facts, context. I love teachers. So teach me writing notes or listening, but a lot of the times the question answer really frustrated me. And so especially for those last 2 days of cramming, I didn't do one question.
Really?
Not one question.
Wow.
None.
Okay.
I said, I don't want any doubt in my head that I could pass this exam. And I knew if I were to start doing question answer, that was going to happen to me. So I didn't do any questions. I said, whatever questions they give me, hopefully I studied the context to answer them.
That's crazy, because I always recommend almost the opposite. But it's funny because you don't know what's going to work for you. So whatever helps you, the biggest thing is easing your anxiety and easing your nerves and getting out of your head in terms of like doubting yourself, or that negative self-talk we talked about.
Yes, absolutely.
And that's the craziest part. I was going to ask something else. I forgot. But let me think. Oh, the other thing is that, did you ever feel like, like this overwhelming I guess, dread during the NCLEX in terms of, did you ever like doubt yourself saying like, oh, maybe I should have took more questions, or maybe, Youworld had the similar questions in the NCLEX? Did you ever feel that?
Okay. Yes. Well, not in terms of I never thought while I was doing the NCLEX I should do more Youworld. What
Okay,
I
okay.
did think is that um because I wasn't practicing questions,
Mm-hmm.
I also wasn't practicing the focus that you need to be able to answer that amount of questions. And so that test taking in itself, not just what you're answering, but the
Mm-hmm.
actual test taking is a skill. You
Yeah.
need the focus. And so I realized when I was like at 100 questions, I was, diplopia, had double vision. Okay.
You got
I
that question right. All right.
yeah, I was like, I would have to look away from the screen and take a few minutes and then look back because my attention was not there. And
Okay.
so I would say if you do feel that questions help you, or whether you do or don't, try practicing the skill to focus. It's
Okay.
important because I struggled with that through the NCLEX. I was like, I wanted to run out of there. You know what I mean? I did 145 questions. I did all of
Really?
them. Yeah. And
Yeah, yeah.
then they gave me like these weird research questions that I didn't even know existed.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I ended up doing all of them, and I hadn't done one question
Wait, what do you mean?
in months. I was like dizzy. I was like, what is this?
You're
Horrible.
like hamster
Horrible.
business, and you're just wait. So, okay, why didn't you take like? I always recommend students to practice like 50 questions or 60 questions at a time, and then take a break. Like,
Yes.
you never wanted to take a break, go to the restroom, get a snack or anything, or
I didn't take one break. The guy, he was like, you want to
wow,
take a break? I'm like, no, no.
get out
Yeah,
of
I was
here.
like, I need to get out of here. Yes. I was like, forget it. No, and I was so nervous. Nothing would go through my head other than this exam. I was like, what if I get up and I don't know. I was like, I don't want,
Yeah,
I'm
get
like,
distracted.
oh,
Yeah.
let me just stay here. But I did struggle with that. I will 100% be honest. So practice how to focus.
Were you
It's,
were you a
yeah.
good crammer in nursing school? And like, okay, so you would cram before an exam and then do really good on it.
Yeah, I've always loved studying. I don't mind taking the time to study,
Hmm.
but in the time that, I had many exams at the same time or something like that, yeah, I would cram. I wouldn't go to
Okay.
sleep. I would wake up hours before the exam, and I would, right before the professor would say, clear your desk, I would still be studying. You know what I
Whoa.
mean?
Okay.
Yeah,
So
and there's
yeah,
other people that would not do that. They're like, I don't
yeah.
see anything. The day before, I don't see anything. I'm like, how do you sleep at
Dang.
night?
How do you do this?
I
All
can't.
right, yeah. So another what's it called, test tip that I don't recommend is the Linnette method over here.
Yeah, I'm just terrible. Don't
Go
listen
ahead
to
and
me.
cram everything. But I think that gives a lot of people hope, because sometimes, I always recommend, you should take 1,200 questions, get at least above 60 to 70%, and
Mhm.
that's when you're green lighted to go for the NCLEX. And it's
Yes.
so funny because you want to hit these milestones, but at the same time, it doesn't work for everyone, and people are different, and
Yeah, I think
it's
it's
kind of
just
cool.
so important to identify yourself and
Mm-hmm.
figure out what works for you. What's your study strategy? And if
Mm-hmm.
it sits right in your spirit, then take it all the way home. You know what I'm saying? Everyone was,
You know
you
what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying?
know what I'm saying?
This Lynette over here, we out here, we doing it, we live in Miami.
All the way from South Florida.
Yeah, all the way from South Florida. It's not like you're giving someone a shout out on TV.
Yeah, on on the radio.
Yeah.
That's so funny. Everyone told me what you're telling me. That's the
Yeah,
truth.
yeah,
Everyone was like, "What are you doing?
yeah. What are you doing?
Um,
Like, get
what are you
concise.
doing?"
Yeah, but then sometimes it works the opposite effect, right? If you're thinking like, oh, I have to do this many questions a day, and then you feel behind because you only did 50 questions in one day, and then you're feeling like, oh, like a loser, and then that negativity sets in.
Yeah.
So, if you guys are feeling overwhelmed about your NCLEX,
Mhm.
Lynette's here, living proof that you don't need to get, overwhelm yourself with all these objectives and a huge laundry list.
Yeah.
Do what feels comfortable, and I guess just do your best. The biggest
Yeah.
thing is, like, you managed your anxiety pretty good a few days before your exam. I mean, it's still anxious, right? You still
I
feel like you're
was I was very anxious, and I mean, for sure the day before I was like doing my best to just, literally meditate, breathe. Like before the exam opened, I prayed 72 times. Oh my God, listen to this. As soon as I go in, there's this little hallway. They're like, just go back there. And I was so anxious. There was no one in the hallway. I started doing jumping jacks in the hallway. I'm like, I need to get this energy out before I sit there. I was like, I looked around. I was like, there's nobody here. And I literally started doing jumping jacks.
Yeah.
Super fast. How embarrassing. Yes, I had to like exert that. So that was one way I got rid of some of that anxiety, get my body moving.
Yeah. Okay, I can see that.
You do what you can.
So then, like, did you ever, dang it, I had one more question about this, but, what was your NCLEX about? Because I always describe the NCLEX as, like 12 different sectors. If you guys have seen Hunger Games, you're dropped into one sector and then you have to battle yourself, out of it. Were you dropped in like pediatrics or adult health or mental health or?
My entire NCLEX was psych. Thank you, God. I love psych.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yes, the first question was psych. I was like, I'm done. I'm ready. So psych, prioritization, delegation.
Mm-hmm.
I had a bunch of select all the applies, but they were very great. They were very reasonable.
Mm-hmm.
Thankfully. So
thankfully.
I did have maternity too. So maternity, psych, prioritization, delegation, select all applies. I had like one to put them in order.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember what it was from, but I do remember thinking, oh, I know this. You know what I mean? I will say something. If you do well, from what I saw in Youworld, if you do well in Youworld, they are similar.
They are similar. Okay.
But if you're looking to go into the NCLEX looking for like exact answers or something, oh no.
Exactly. Yeah.
Completely different. Like focus on the rational. That's what
the critical thinking behind it. Yeah.
Yes.
And I think that's the funniest thing is that people go into the NCLEX expecting there to be fluid and electrolytes on it, expecting pharmacology, expecting like a little bit of everything. Where it's like, guys, the NCLEX is totally random. They'll start you off in one specific area like mental health, and then you'll graduate or like battle your way out. And then you only had mental health the whole time? You didn't have multiple like pediatrics?
No, I had mental health, maternity.
Okay.
I felt that like all of my NCLEX was a lot of prioritization delegation, to be completely honest.
Okay, so it graduated you to that third level. Okay.
It did. And I remember they gave me one crazy question about culture. And I was remembering, I was like, I remember this guy saying, if you have really hard questions that you've never heard before, you're probably doing really good. This is a good sign. And I was like, you know what? They're playing with me at this point. And I was just like, I need to get out of this one. I don't know what I even put. But I had maybe one or two farm questions. I didn't get one fluid electrolyte, one EKG, none of that.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't get peds either.
Mm-hmm.
I did get some like, what's the traction or whatever.
Oh, okay, like the orthopedic, like traction splint or like traction devices, yeah.
But like none, like very ABC in my opinion. It was like, what do you check? Oh, to see if there's warmth in the calf. Oh, circumference, stuff that you see all the time. So I do think that exam is reasonable.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the hardest, easiest exam you will ever take.
The hardest, easy, yeah. Okay, right. So and to give everyone kind of like a recap and like some I guess some key points. If your friend just took the NCLEX and says, oh my gosh, electrolytes is on the NCLEX, or oh my gosh, EKG is on, or oh, it's only pharmacology. The NCLEX works like this, and Linnette's living proof that, it starts you off in one area from, there's like 12 different areas, mental health, med surg, it can start you anywhere in med surg, pharmacology, pediatrics, maternity, anything. And then if you're doing good, and if you know you're doing good, this is how you know, it's going to graduate you to like a second milestone. So yours was mental health, and they graduated to pharmacology or no, peds?
I would say, there was only maybe 2 pharm. It's crazy. There's so much adrenaline that goes into that exam. It just becomes a blur.
And then you got prioritization and delegation.
Yes.
Which is a whole different section. Yeah.
Who would you see first? Who would you see last? That was everywhere. And they give you the different scenarios in, an ER or in a destructive, in a crisis. So you have to really know your tags, your black tags. At least for me, I had to know that. Who to see first, most important. That was on there for sure.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. But everyone that has taken the NCLEX, they have actually told me exactly what you're saying. Their exam was much different than mine.
Yeah. So that's pretty awesome. So that's really cool.
Mhm.
All right, cool. So to recap it, you don't have to follow an amazing, rigid study plan. Lynette's living proof that if you guys are good crammers, I would actually add that in. If you're a good crammer in nursing school, you'll probably choose the Linnette method. If you're not, then I wouldn't really recommend it.
I call it the wing it in the wild.
Winging it in the wild. Do 25 jumping jacks before your exam. This is the Linnette method.
And, yeah, meditate, do jumping jacks.
Oh yeah.
Horrible.
Get diplopia during your.
Oh my goodness.
But I think that's the biggest thing, is that the biggest thing that I've learned that anyone can take away from you, Linnette, is to decrease your anxiety and choose a study plan that actually works for you. If you're having fun and, cramming on the key points, that's the biggest thing. I think the biggest thing that a lot of students shoot themselves in the foot and just overwhelm themselves when they don't have to, So
They really don't. They really don't. I completely agree with that. I completely agree. So
cool.
Yeah, I think it's just stay on task and do the best you can. That's all you could do.
Yeah. Peace up, A-Town, you know what I'm saying? Big shout out to my peeps. All right.
Oh,
All right.
yeah.
So let's end this on a good note. Well, I don't know, interesting note. What was your worst horror story as a nursing student?
Oh goodness.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, so it's not a terrible horror story. There's been many weird things to happen for sure. I think I'm just gonna go off with. Okay, so one horrible one was that I had a patient try to pull out her peg tube, which was crazy. That was weird.
Oh snap.
Yeah. So that was terrible. But the one that I think it's kind of funny to me was my first clinical rotation. I'll never forget this.
All right. Where your first day?
First clinical rotation. It was in like a home, and I had to see my patient, and it was my first head to toe assessment. And I had been seeing about this, in class, but now you have to do it and get your stethoscope out and learn how to palpate things. And, so my professor's like, okay, choose your patient. I chose this elderly man, and I, head to toe. And then he's like, okay, now you have to check his legs. I'm like, perfect. But in that time, I was kind of like nervous, I guess. And I just didn't put two and two together. And this guy's all wrapped up in many blankets because he's cold. He was like an elderly patient. And I'm looking for this man's legs for a while.
Oh, no, he told you.
And I'm looking at my professor and I'm like, there's something wrong.
There's something wrong with these legs here.
He didn't have legs.
Oh,
he didn't have legs.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Your instructor. Your instructor, when he knew about this and he trolled you,
he
like,
knew.
Yeah.
He was looking at me and I was looking at him, and it took me a while, I guess. I was like trying to be as professional as possible and like, let me not jump to conclusions. And no, he didn't have legs. And I felt so embarrassed. And it's not that it freaked me out or anything. It doesn't. It's just that the embarrassing part, because I knew that he knew I was looking for his legs. And that was the worst part of this whole thing.
Oh man, that sucks.
Horrible. And I had to apologize. You know what I mean? I was like, I'm so, in Spanish, I was like, I'm so sorry. I just didn't know. Okay. Pro tip, get ready to be embarrassed with a whole bunch of stuff, especially when you're learning.
Yeah. Pro tip, you don't know everything. You'll be embarrassed. So what did you do? Like
nothing. I apologized and I moved on with the day. But I've done so many weird things. I once dropped an entire tray of Lancets, okay? It spread like candy. And I was like sorry, professor, I'm clumsy. Things happen, especially when you're learning and especially when you're nervous.
And that's okay, right?
And that is so okay.
Yeah,
These are things you remember. You don't remember the good. You remember the funny, the embarrassing, the challenging. That's what you really remember.
Yeah, of course.
Be prepared for it all. It's such a ride.
It's
great.
Good.
It's great.
Cool, man.
Yeah.
Man, so and now you start next week on the orthopedic unit. So that's pretty cool.
So I have to go through a whole new process of desensitization. Desensitization. I'm terrible with that word.
Desanitization? No.
Desanitation. Yes, that.
Desanitization. No, desensitization.
Yes.
Yeah, that one.
For sure, because it's orthopedic, so it's all broken bones and people that come in all sorts of pretzel forms, and so
it's those traction splints too. You got 2 questions on the NCLEX. That prepared you really good.
Ready? Yes.
Yeah, you're.
Yeah, I'm ready. I know I got them right.
Yeah. Pin care for sure.
Oh my goodness. Yes.
So yeah,
it's so exciting.
we'll probably have you on after a few months as a new grad, some new grad tips and tricks. That'd be kind of cool.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. You
All
let me
right.
know. I'm here for it.
Yeah, for sure. And then tell people where they can get your book, Lifeline.
Okay, so Lifeline is available on Amazon as an ebook and paperback as well. And you just would have to type in Lifeline by Linnette Santana,
There's one
and
in.
there it is. Or
With
you
the
can go to
link.
the link in my bio. I have a link.
Got the link in the bio. I'll include the link too. So
No,
Lifeline, dope. And if you guys don't know, this is a self-help book that pretty much, Linnette, you made it during a time of crisis during your nursing school experience, your nursing school journey, we call it.
yeah.
It's supposed to help you guys create better habits and kind of, I guess, hack the dark times in your life with just very simple tricks. It's really about redirecting your focus, which we covered a lot in our last episode. So
Yes, definitely. Really good way to put that. That's you hit the you know what I'm trying to say. Yes.
nail on the head. Yeah.
Yes.
Well,
yes.
thank you so much, Linnette, for joining us. And once again, guys, thank you guys so much for listening to the Code Blue podcast. Don't forget to download Holly Blue, the one and only nursing app for nurses created by nurses.